you've got that covered, then you can invest the rest of your money in different investments. But you want to make sure that you've got your basic living expenses covered.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here on the Perfect Plan podcast with Matt Schiff of Schiff Executive Benefits. Matt, how you doing today? It's good to see you again.
I'm doing well. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks since we've had the last podcast, and we had a lot of fun with Jane and Joe on. And today, I'm thrilled to have Tom Hegna on here. Tom and I have known each other since our days at New York Life, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit. But his background is similar to my father's background, the military background. It kind of teaches you the way to do things. Mom talked about how she taught me some things along the way as a young person. And today, Tom, it's great to have you because you talk about retire happy. And retiring happy is a mindset more than anything else. But there's also some financial things that have to be done. And your background working at New York Life as the vice president of annuities, or senior vice president of annuities while we were over at NILEX Benefits, really resonates with what you do today in comparison to what you did 20 years ago. So what have you been doing, and what have you seen? What do you teach to your kids? I mean, your son is in the military as well. You talk about your family. It's one of the great things that I love about you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, happy birthday. You just had a birthday the other day. I saw that. So I wanted to say happy birthday. But
thank you.
Yeah, so I've spent my entire career really trying to help baby boomers retire the optimal way. Because right now, if they talk to 50 different advisors, different opinions, but there aren't 50 optimal ways to retire. There's really one way to do it. And that's what I talk about. That's what I write about. That's what I speak about. Now, as far as what I've trained my children, my latest book, my last book is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And this is for young people. This is for people 20, 30, 40, 50 that want to build wealth. And I teach them how simple it is. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's very simple to build wealth in America if you know just some basics. And so that's what I've shared with my kids. But, and just so you know, I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk. I'd say 70% retired. I was on the road for 30 years, 200 days a year, and I could never justify a country club membership because there's a buy-in and there's annual dues and there's monthly dues and there's minimum food and beverage. I couldn't financially make it work. Now I have 2 country club memberships because if you play, 4 or 5 days a week, it's a great deal. And so, it's just kind of how you go through life a little bit. And I'm in a different spot now than what I was when I was younger.
That's great. That's great. I know that you've actually played quite a bit in tournaments lately. I think it was last year you were club champion. Is that correct?
Well, I won the club championship in 2020 up at Flagstaff Ranch. And then in 2022, I won the senior club championship. And then down here at Alta Mesa this year, I was tied for first net in the senior club championship. I just had a tough second day. But I mean, first net means you played better against your own ability than anybody else. So I still played pretty good, but I played super good the first day. And I just didn't bring it home for the gross the next day, but maybe next year.
Actually, I have a great question with regards to your golf game and how it relates to the 20, 30, 40-something-year-olds, how to become a millionaire. What is it about your golf game that translates to those people?
Well, think about it. You have different clubs for different situations. You got a putter that you use on the green. If you used a putter off the tee, you'd look kind of dumb. You have a sand wedge to get you out of the bunker. If you went to the sand trap with your driver, you'd look pretty dumb. If you tried to putt with a pitching wedge, unless it's a weird thing on the fringe or something, you'd look kind of dumb. And so each club has a purpose, and it's the same with investment products. A mutual fund has a purpose, an ETF has a purpose, an annuity has a purpose, life insurance has a purpose, and it's try to get them all working together so that you get the optimal solution that no matter what happens, good, bad, otherwise, that you're going to be in the best possible situation with all the different variables of life. And that's what I try to show people, that you have to have some protection project. If you just go with investment products, you're not going to be happy over the long term, okay? Because things can happen that investment products can't protect you from. All right. If you just have all your money in insurance, you're probably not going to be happy because you might not have the returns that you could have. So it's about blending it properly, using the right club at the right time and the right product at the right time is really what's important.
You also talk about sequence of returns. and that how important that is. While you can get a average rate of return of 8%, it's the sequence depending in retirement for those pre-retirees and retirees versus those are the 20, 30, 40-year-olds who can afford to take that type of hit. But even so, based upon what you've seen in numbers, the annuity products that provide what you call protection to the downside, there's a stigma behind it. What happened? What is it about that annuity, the protection side of these investment products that you're talking about? You need to have a piece of it. It shouldn't be all your assets. But what is it about that's kind of a misnomer out there?
Well, you kind of asked two questions there. So let me kind of go one at a time. The first one dealt with sequence of returns risk, and that's a big risk for seniors. And the reason is your entire life. Think about it. Your entire life, if you started saving in a 401k IRA in your 20s and 30s and 40s, it was the average returns that mattered. It didn't matter if 1 year was up, 1 year is down, because what mattered is what was the average rate of return. And so for your entire investing life, there's only one thing that's mattered, and that's what your average rate of return is. And yet the day you retire, it totally flips. Average returns mean nothing. And so when you're young, this dollar cost averaging based on average returns now turns into dollar cost ravaging in retirement. Because you can average, as you said, 8% a year for 20 years in retirement and go dead broke in 3 or 4 years. So people go, how can you do that? Well, because if you retire and the market goes down the first couple of years, math and science says you're highly likely to run out of money. Conversely, if you retire and you're taking money out of a portfolio in the first couple of years, the market goes up, up, up. Math and science says you're highly likely to be successful. The problem is none of us knows when the market's going to go up or the market's going to go down. So if you just leave it in the market, you're subjecting your retirement to good luck or bad luck. And that's where annuities can come in. They can take the bad luck out. Now, you said there's been negative press on annuities. I will just tell you, the research that I read is very positive on annuities. I cannot find a PhD who has studied retirement that is negative on annuities. Let me just read you a few quotes. Dr. Michael Fink and Dr. Wade Pfau, they don't sell any annuities. They're PhDs. They've studied retirement. If the reason you save for retirement was to provide a secure lifestyle, there's no more efficient way to create lifetime income than through an annuity. Not my words, theirs. Now, BlackRock, by the way, BlackRock sells no annuities, all right? They have $9 trillion in the stock market. They have more money in the market than Fidelity, more money in the market than Vanguard, okay? Here's what they say. Adding guaranteed lifetime income combined with a more aggressive asset allocation generates 29% more annual spending ability from one's retirement savings and reduces downside risk by 33%. Ernst & Young sells no annuities, okay? They did a whole white paper on how to retire the optimal way. You know what they found? The optimal product portfolio, 30% whole life, 30% income annuity, 40% investments. That's Ernst & Young, one of the top accounting firms in the world. So those are the types of research that I look at, not what people are saying on TV.
That's an interesting concept that you've now said, okay, you're dispelling the truth that a managed account can do it on its own. I've got that protection piece, and somebody outside our industry is saying you need to have a piece of it.
Yeah.
That being said,
I've got many more research studies of PhDs who've studied it, and the way that it fits the best is as a bond. See, people compare it. Oh, it doesn't do as good as stocks. They weren't set up to do as well as stocks, but they beat bonds. So why don't you have? In fact, Dr. Wade Pfau just had a podcast that said we should never say stocks and bonds again. It should always be stocks and annuities, because annuities are a better fixed income asset than bonds.
You tell a story about 4 ladies in their retirement, and you talk about guaranteed streams of income. And I'm bringing it up kind of, again, in a roundabout way, because you do a great job of explaining that it's important to have both a paycheck and a playcheck, and that there's 3 stages of retirement. Would you kind of explain that?
Yeah. So, I say there's 3 stages of retirement: the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. Now, the go-go years, that's what I'm in. That's when you're young, you're healthy, you're playing golf, you're playing pickleball, you're going on cruises, you're seeing the world. Every day it's happy hour somewhere. That's the go-go years. But that's going to be followed by the slow-go years. Now, the slow-go years, You can still do everything in the go-go. You just don't want to anymore. In fact, you don't want to go downtown after 4:30 because dad can't see when it's dark out. That's the slow-go years. And the no-go years are those years when you're probably not leaving the building till you're leaving the building, if you know what I'm talking about. And so those are the 3 stages of retirement.
And to have that happy retirement or retire happy, we've all based our life putting money into the Social Security system. Those younger than me, I'm 57, like you said, I just had a birthday, are thinking, I'm putting money in. Am I going to get anything back, especially with the way inflation's going? How do I guarantee that I'm going to have some income coming in when I've amassed $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in my retirement plan? And now, everybody's saying I gotta find a way to manage this money or guarantee that I'm going to not outlive my money.
Well, what the research shows is you should have enough guaranteed lifetime income to at least cover your basic living expenses. So really the first step is figure out how much money do you need to live your normal retirement? How much money do you need every month? And that should be covered with guaranteed lifetime income. So that's where Social Security fits. That's where pensions fit. And that's where lifetime income annuities fit. Okay. So once you've got that covered, then you can invest the rest of your money and invest it in different investments. But you want to make sure that you've got your basic living expenses covered with guaranteed lifetime income.
And as you transition into those slow-go years, I've had my grandparents. I've taken care of probably 2 or at least 3 of them. My parents may say otherwise, but it was actually something that was very tumultuous for our family with my grandmother when she was in, she had a policy, ironically, that carried for 5 years. She actually was on benefit for 7. So those last 2 years, who's taking care of it? Who's financially responsible? Well, it's either she goes on the Medicare system or the family's going to take care of it out of pocket. And the latter occurred. What would you recommend? And when is this the perfect time, would you say, to buy a long-term care policy? Because we always talk about the perfect time to buy a policy is the day before you're uninsurable. But I mean, besides that joke.
Now, the time to buy the policy is today, because today is the healthiest day of the rest of your life. Okay, I got mine when I was in my 40s, and now you can't even get the kind of policy I have. But I say this, no retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. It is the number one thing that most people forget about that can wipe out their entire life's work. So I made my parents buy long-term care insurance 18 years ago. They didn't want to. It's too expensive. We'll never need it. It's an insurance company ripoff. My dad said all those words to me. I made them buy it. Now, they were both in assisted living, $10,000 a month. You got to remember, they were teachers from small towns in Minnesota. There were years they didn't make $10,000 a year, $10,000 a month. I cannot imagine their retirement if they did not have those policies. It wipes families out. It tears families apart. And I tell people long-term care insurance isn't about you. It's about your family. Do you really want your daughter to be giving you a bath? Or would you rather have her make sure that the healthcare workers are there on time and that they're doing the right thing, they're taking good care of you? I want my family to manage the care, not give me the care.
And what are those numbers of the chances of you needing care during your lifetime?
I mean, there's a lot of numbers thrown around, but typically there's a 70% chance that you will need some form of care between now and the day that you die, whether that's stay at home and somebody comes and watches, or adult daycare, or assisted living. It doesn't mean that 70% of people are going to go into a nursing home, but it means that 70% of people are going to need some form of assistance with their activities of daily living. Sometimes it's just helping getting dressed, or they can't do their buttons, or they can't do zippers, but then it becomes they can't get up or down the stairs. They can't get into a car. They can't use the restroom properly. They can't take a shower. They could fall or things. So there's all these different levels that they may need assistance. My parents both had Alzheimer's. And so, physically they were fine, but my mom didn't even know what she had for breakfast, that morning. And because I've got 2 of those genes inside of me, I'm very, concerned about that. And I'm trying to, I hope they come up with some solutions to Alzheimer's, because it is a terrible, terrible terrible thing to have to go through. In addition to all the other long-term care stuff, it's very hard.
Well, it tears the family apart because you lose them twice. They're there, but they're not there. Then you lose them the second time.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the worst part. So, with that being said, what haven't I covered so far that you kind of preach and talk to both clients and, advisors and their clients?
Yeah. So let's just go through the go-go, slow-go, no-go, because I think that'll do it. The go-go, it's really all about having adequate income. Retirement's not about assets. Your assets can be lost. They can be stolen. They can be swindled. They can be sued. They can be divorced. They can be decimated in a market crash. Retirement's really about income and managing risk. The slow-go year is all about long-term care. And I say, I don't care what kind of long-term care plan you have, but you got to have one. And if you don't have one, you're not going to like the one that the government's got for you. And then the no-go years, that's all about life insurance. But I get so many people who say, well, Tom, life insurance has nothing to do with retirement. Wrong, 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 wrong. I've already been moving more of my personal wealth into life insurance because I know taxes are going to have to go up a lot. You look at the debt, over $34 trillion. We're adding $1 trillion to our debt every 90 to 100 days. Our interest on our debt this year will be more than our entire defense budget for Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. I mean, it's ridiculous what's happening. So I've been moving more of my personal wealth there. But one of the reasons that many people, and then the reason I did that is because then I can take money out tax-free. I think having sources of tax-free income, I've converted all my Roth IRAs or all my 401ks to Roth IRAs. So that's tax-free. Most of them are in income annuities. So I'm going to have increasing tax-free income for the rest of my life, move more of my personal wealth to whole life insurance so that I'll be able, any day I want, I can flip on a switch and I can have a lot of tax-free money sent to me every month for the rest of my life. But one of the reasons that many people aren't enjoying their retirements is they think they've got to leave some money to their kids. Oh, we got to leave some money to Johnny and Susie. We got to leave some money to Johnny and Susie. So they deny themselves a retirement to leave money to their kids. I say, don't do that. You're not supposed to leave any money to your kids. You're supposed to spend your money, leave them life insurance. And I use me as an example because we've got 4 kids. And one day we're sitting around saying, hey, how much should we leave the kids? My wife said, I don't know. What do you think? I said, well, if we bought a $1 million second and I life insurance policy, name the 4 kids the beneficiary, when we're both gone, they're going to get $250,000 a piece tax-free, plus whatever's left over. I said, let's start there. And so we bought a $1 million second and I life insurance policy, name the 4 kids the beneficiary. That policy is completely paid up. Do you know what that $1 million policy cost? $150,000. Now think about that. For 15 cents on the dollar, we get to transfer $1 million tax-free to our kids. But here's the best part. Who gets to spend the other $850,000? We do. Don't leave your kids money. Spend your money. Leave them life insurance because you can do that for pennies on the dollar. What I try to do with people is get them the most for the least in retirement because there's no dry run. There's no second chance. There's no dress rehearsal. You got to get it right the first time. And that's what I write about in, book, Don't Worry, Retire Happy is all loaded with ideas on that. And my first book, Paychecks and Playchecks, it's in there as well because this is all based in math and science, not on people's opinions. There you go.
Excuse me. I appreciate your time today. I mean, your knowledge and your insight are so special, especially since I've known you for so long. You're also a family friend, so it's nice to have you on this podcast as we get this thing going. John, is there something that, as you've been watching and listening, I think this is the first time I kind of took control of the show.
Well, I'm excited about that, right? I was it going to be episode 3, episode 6 when you took over, and I love it just because I think this is such a great conversation, and certainly one for myself, to take a lot of great notes, having Tom on, an absolute privilege. And then, of course, I think, Matt, what's been so exciting about you putting this podcast together as we're seeing more and more people that follow you on social media, both you and Tom know how important this content is, right? And so it's just kind of one of those things that people hear in the back of their brain, they see on TV, they hear from advisors. It's just like sometimes it takes them to hear it more and more and more for it to stick so that they make the decisions that the both of you were talking about so that they do, have a retirement of, healthy, all the things that they want to do and things like that. So it's been great. I loved it. I do want to let everybody know that as we kind of roll into the next episode, these first couple of episodes with Matt have been him kind of setting the stage and the importance of, in this case, happy retirement, pre-retirement. We talked about, saving and some of those basic fundamentals and of course his story. Now, as we get into episode 4, Matt's going to get into talking about, employee retention. So in other words, a lot of these things that Matt's been talking about and Tom as well, those are things that as a business owner, you can utilize to attract employees and keep good employees. And I'm sure as the both of you know, like that's never an easy thing. And when you can have team members stay on board with you for a while, you end up saving money that way as a business owner. So Matt, maybe just a little segue there, either from you or Tom, on just the importance of that employer retention to set the stage for our next episode.
Well, Tom hit it with the last topic. He was talking about life insurance. One of the best ways to keep a key employee as a owner of a company, and it again depends on the structure, and I'll get into that in the next episode. But there are tax efficient ways, which I think Tom, what do you call it? The ikigai, that sweet spot where you have that tax efficiency both from the employer, the employee, and then the income. The teaser is somebody I met many years ago at New York Life, who was a life product consultant, says the perfect plan that's out there is the one where you put the money in pre-tax, have it grow tax deferred, and you take it out tax free. The problem is the government's going to lock you up and throw away the key if you do it improperly. But if you have the right structure with a company and an employee, you can get pretty efficient with that, and you can avoid most of the taxes that Tom is talking about in retirement, while also protecting your family and possibly getting a deduction at the employer level.
Yeah. And then Tom, I just wanted to ask you as we wrap here, I know one of the things that Matt's very passionate about is educating business owners, many of which are in that demographic that he talked about, 50 to 60, still working, earning a really good income. In the case of the world that I live in, it's in healthcare, dentistry, or what have you. And so, as Matt has seen a lot of these professionals, they've been working their whole life and they just haven't taken the time to implement a lot of these very great strategies that both of you talked about. What have you seen, or I think more importantly, what would you say to those business owners from your experience to just, move forward, take the time to make these decisions, because it's obviously going to make a big difference. And you don't want all the years that you worked to go for nothing by just making some of these, big decisions.
Well, it's the same as it was when I started about 35 years ago. People don't fail to plan, or people don't plan to fail. They simply fail to plan. And that's the important thing. So planning is the key. Just sit down with a guy like Matt and just put a plan together, and your retirement can be worry-free, can be happy. There is an optimal way to do it. I'm living it. I don't sell annuities. I own 13 of them. I don't sell life insurance. My annual life insurance premium when I was working was $226,000 a year. I believe in these things. I have an unlimited benefits long-term care policy. I know this stuff works. It allows me to go play golf 4 or 5 days a week. We've done a Panama Canal cruise. We did a Mediterranean cruise. We did a Caribbean cruise. We're set to go to the Canary Islands. And then we've already got another one scheduled down to Australia. So I'm trying to live this. I'm not just talking about it. And this works. If you do it the right way, you can have a fun and worry-free retirement.
Matt, any final thoughts?
I just want to thank Tom again. As a teaser, after the next episode, I believe in May, we have Jamie Hopkins, prior professor from the American College, now part of Bryn Mawr Trust, coming in to talk about exactly what Tom was talking about, wealth management on his side and trusts and everything, and his education. And he's going to talk about what you need to know, not what I need to know, but the public needs to know. So it's going to be fun.
I love it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Tom, a pleasure to both meet you and to learn a lot. I took a lot of notes while you and Matt were going back and forth. And Matt, as always, love as we're continuing this Perfect Plan podcast. Want to let everybody know, certainly you can watch this on all of the Schiff Executive Benefits social media channels. And of course, the Perfect Plan podcast, subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Great, information to listen to when you're driving, taking a walk, what have you. Matt's doing some great work, and we're excited to keep this thing going. So thanks to the both of you.